credit. Bharat has said that we will talk only to Pakistan. There is no third person here. So how does this work? Clearly their game on and their game is gambit is purely to try and internationalize J&K. I'm sure you understand that.
Yeah, and it is for the US leadership to see how brazenly they have violated and gone back to whatever assurances they gave the US side in terms of ceasefire, and obviously there would have been a lot of talk, especially when US Secretary of State had to speak to Asif Munir himself before they were brought onto the right track. So they need to see how they have gone back. It is for them to realize we know what Pakistan does, what he is capable of, how much he respects the treaties or the ceasefires or agreements that are reached. So we would have been careful, we would have been watchful, and surely these drone incursions would be tackled, so there's nothing to worry. But in the larger context, I think the US leadership, the world leaders need to see the Pakistani game plan and the involvement of Pakistani military establishment, ISI, deeply into their terror networks and their support, and going so far out in support of supporting their terror organization. I think that is the lesson that the world needs to take and deal with Pakistan.
No, but what is the reason why that this is not something which they have not known? If Osama bin Laden was found in Abbottabad, not so far away from a very key military installation, the world knows it already.
Yeah, they know it, but they have selective memory. They bring in different definitions of terrorism when it suits them. They have all kind of things they do. But when we point out these actions, they have not come out very strongly against Pakistan, in spite of Pakistan being the epicenter of terrorism. So it is time now to call out, and we need to take our action. We would take. Now the world just needs to watch. Don't tell us what to do. We will do what we need to do.
So this is another ceasefire deal that's gone begging Donald Trump and perhaps J.D. Vance, the US. Did they jump the gun in trying to take credit? Shehbaz Sharif crediting and thanking, and as Prime Minister confirming, not knowing what his army is doing immediately. In fact, minutes after Shehbaz Sharif tweeted saying thank you and we are going to talk, and we're looking at peace, the drone activity and the incursions and the ceasefire violations across the line of control and international border have started. General D.P. Pandey is with us. General Sahab, what should Bharat do now? Is this now equal to act of war?
Okay, so firstly, let me just start by saying that Pakistan has shit-faced number of people. The Pak army rather. Pak army shit-faced his own Prime Minister, who just tweeted, and within tweet, it can't be a part of a larger deception, because when you come out as a government, leading a government and make a statement, you believe that everybody is backing you up, like in any other country happens. So this is one thing happens. The second, what has happened is that US actually needs to see that how they have been shit-faced, while common sense and intelligence was the remark which the president of US made out for this thing. So they should know that the deep state, which has got great fingers and ties and affiliations inside, and they have been feeling that ISI is their tool. How they come back and actually smear in the face. But very interestingly, actually, for the Westerns, we are all right. We've got no value for them. We can be only used when they are when they need us. Omar Abdullah tweeted very shortly what the hell is happening, what has happened to ceasefire. So I had to just only tweet back to him, and that is there is a cruel reminder for all of us that starting from standstill agreement, which was breached in 1947-48, right? 1947, the Jammu and Kashmir, that point of time.
Yeah.
The Pakistanis have breached all treaties, not only with us, with everybody across the world, including using of F-16 and not telling the Americans Osama is living with them and they are looking after him and all, blah blah blah. I don't want to get into the deal of it, but bottom line, coming the tactical level, what is happening today is possibly as a field force commander, everybody would have known, because we discussed the difference between stoppage of fire and ceasefire, right? The issue was to be debated, discussed, and hashed out on 12th. Any sensible army or armed forces will try and use this time for one-upmanship possibly. But given the circumstances in which couple of top leadership had talked of ceasefire in their rank and file,
Right.
I think this should not have happened. It is very important also for us when we are talking,
Right.
we should not talk of a rogue element. The moment we talk of rogue element in armed forces, we're unhappy with the government and the DGMO's call, and therefore they have taken this call. The rogue elements can be a selective element who will use instrument of terrorism to carry out a strike after a talk which has happened. But when you look at the spread all around from Kashmir to Jammu to Punjab and on the way to Rajasthan, crossing of line of control and international border is a deliberate violation by Pakistan Army as an army, right? It is not rogue elements who are just popping up, something like celebratory fire or okay, we will not like children going to the toilet and banging up some crackers. So it is quite a deliberate. There is a dissonance between the political leadership, somewhere into a same part of the military, but in the rest of the Pak army, which has taken again, which were possibly looking to flex their muscle and showcase that we are up to the steam, have possibly taken a hit there. That Punjabi ego, which we keep of time, has actually taken a major hit, and this is coming as a response of all these activities taking place. Now, the very bottom line question is it an act of war? Right. This is the time when again we have to go back to the thing, and I don't want to debate right now on the open that what will be that line which will breach when truly we need to declare the festival of war. But this is still controllable. This is manageable, and I'm sure without coming out, our systems which are being headed by people will be striking back some point of time.
Oh, it's already started.
In terms of the drones, yeah.
It's already started.
So
it's already started. Proportionate response has already been given, and it will be given further. That's the update. Manoj Kumar Gupta getting us those details that Bharat's proportionate response has already started. But and it's the what a lot of people are hearing, locals are hearing in the skies. Once again, you must be used to it over the last 3-4 days. That's what happens. The first time it's all shocking, but now everybody knows what's happening. It's the ADSs, the air defense systems, the guns that are now bringing down and neutralizing these drones. So that's the effectivity that's visible. That's the explosions that one is hearing. But General Pandey believes this is still below the threshold level or the line where India as a nation will turn around and say this is an act of war. But Peter, does this leave the Americans embarrassed? Does this leave Donald Trump, Rubio, Vance, all of them perhaps embarrassed because they perhaps jumped the gun? They shouldn't have.
Donald Trump is not capable of embarrassment. So, I mean, if Donald Trump were capable of embarrassment, he'd be so embarrassed at everything else that's gone on for the past 100 days. But it does create, as everybody's saying, a very, very precarious situation. And I think we're still at the point where it can be controlled and managed. And if India reacts too strongly, we're on the verge of World War III. So that's not an acceptable option in the nuclear age, which means we've got to do everything we can, regardless of whatever blame is on Pakistan for breaking this ceasefire. India is in a position where it has to exercise maximum restraint right now. When I look at this and I question, what is Pakistan thinking if they're actually authorizing this breaking of the ceasefire? It looks to me totally irrational, totally self-destructive. India is stronger. And then if India responds forcefully, Pakistan has no response except resort to nuclear weapons. And that is madness. That is insanity. So this really has got to be calmed, tamped down as quickly as possible. And, we've got to get back to diplomacy.
But Chief, don't you think Pakistan's nuclear bluff has already been called off? And if Russia-Ukraine has not spilled over into a World War III, Israel-Hamas or Israel-Iran has not spilled over into World War III, Bharat-Pakistan somewhere, is this whole thing about World War III important? Bharat has not even exercised 5% of its military capabilities here.
No, absolutely. The nuclear bluff has been called. we have been very controlled in our actions, and I think what Pakistan is attempting tonight, in spite of ceasefire.
See, 8 drones, complete blackout in Pokhran. So again, Jaisalmer region, again 8 drones have been spotted.
It's a very
there.
clear sign that they are trying to steal some damage, thinking that we probably won't take strong action because of ceasefire, and they would quickly get a little more damage and then call it quits. So that's not going to be accepted. That's not going to happen. There would be response from our side, which I think you just mentioned that there's something is started.
So
response against incursions and possibly response across, because this cannot be left, without a response. Unpunished. But you made an important point of act of war. I think we need to see it is very clearly an act of war. There is a ceasefire, and you come across, it's not only drones doing surveillance, it is dropping bombs. So it is clearly an act of war. Whether we should go to war for it, clearly no. At the moment, our actions have been very controlled. Our actions have been very much below the threshold of conventional conflict. But in response to their actions, of course it will be a multiple always, but very controlled still. We attacked some bases, 7, we could have attacked much more. If it was a full-fledged conflict, we would have shaped the battlefield in a different manner. A counter would have been much more effective. So it is still very controlled. I'm sure our defense forces will give a controlled response. More importantly, I think US administration needs to see what Pakistan does, what is it capable of. In spite of a ceasefire at this level and obviously assurances to the US president, they have violated it, not only violated with dedicated attacks on our bases. So it's for them to see.
But if we take the conversation forward from you and into General Pandey, what happens on the 12th now, given this is happening? Now, should our viewers, should Bharat expect this to continue? Sushant Sareen is also with us. Should Bharat expect for this to continue till the 12th? And is this par for course? कि वो कुछ करते रहेंगे, हम जवाब देते रहेंगे और हम भी मारते रहेंगे उनको?
No, ceasefire does not entail that this action should happen. Therefore, I expect that there would be a official statement from our side calling out the actions, calling out Pakistan on their actions, and they would Pakistan would need to explain, and US would be asking them some questions. I'm sure the lines will run through the night in terms of questioning Pakistan. But clearly the Pakistan military leadership is in the dock for explaining how this happens at this level, if you give assurance. And I'm not surprised. Indian Defence Forces won't be surprised. It is for US to see. And US, somebody made a point, US deep state has been deeply involved in stepping up and supporting Pakistan military in particular, not now, in the previous years, and therefore it is for their system to realize what is happening in the new world.
Right. These are pictures from about 15-20 minutes ago. So all these reports that are coming in, it's all activity that's happened between 8:45 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. IST. So it's happened in a half an hour window. That's where all these activities have happened. The reports are trickling in now. We'll try and establish a timestamp. So these are ceasefire violations all across the western border. So it's not just the LC and the IB in Jammu and Kashmir that's been kept active. The Pakistanis have tried to make their activity right across the entire western border section. General Pandey and then Sushant Sareen, your thoughts on this question. Is this now going to happen till the 12th? Should this be par for course? कि आधा घंटा एक घंटा कुछ एक्टिविटी करते रहेंगे just to keep things hot? And we should also respond in proportionate measure and this is par for course. What happens on the 12th now? General Pandey and then Sushant Sareen. Ji.
Yeah, so you're asking me options which are how it is going to pan out. Is first is that drone warfare is a reality, right? We may be putting into some sort of some segment of grey zone warfare, right or wrong. We want to accept it as a reality or not. Something what became very useful for us when we are into ceasefire violation timelines some time back. So these are some degree of reality we have to take. Second is that this escalatory ladder keeps on rising up, right? And the third option which can come up, that after due consideration and frustration, a very calibrated thought is taken up to actually go for war. And now for all these segments, we have to actually draw our system that what is our ultimate objective. right? And based on that objective and the mission, is a course which will be taken out. Now, this will become a debate, a prolonged debate, but I just want to lay out that these are three options how to pan out. Will it stop at 12th? Will it stop tonight? Will it stop tomorrow? But yes, there is possibility of this act again. Right now, nothing much has happened. I'm more worried, for last 6 days, 7 days, I have been extremely worried about any terror attack which takes place, because when this entire thing is panning out, one element from ISI or Asim Munir says कि ये तो लग रहा है कि मेरे हाथ से लग जाएगा, अभी मुश्किल हो गया है. Now you come out and do another one, right? And that instigates the entire nation. That is exactly what he wanted in the start, right? And we go back to the drawing board after the terror attack, because this will be a paradigm shift when everybody accepted, okay, we have gone for this thing, we have hit the camps and all, we have neutralized a major thing, we have punished, and the top rung leadership and the recruits or whatever, where they have gone and dusted for some point of time, but then there are elements existing, right? And this tool gets applied, that will be a major shift. And trust me, I really find myself to be in a very good place that I have retired. I'm not part of that decision-making body. It is going to be very difficult as a politician, as a government, and even as a military force to take a line this way or that way. So while nuclear bluff has been called out as told by the air chief, but has the war bluff been called out, right?
Yeah.
So this is a question which we have to keep on troubling ourselves with. But yes, somewhere in the back room we have to work on a date when this machine which has been prepared is going to be applied for punishment. And the last point which you can take as a tool for further discussion: who is actually behind this? Is it actually Asim Munir? Is it something else which is troubling us, which is compelling the system to go on the way it is want? Who wants to actually draw us into the war? These are questions which have to be thought of.
Who question is beyond Asim Munir and if his own machinations. There is only one entity that is sitting on our eastern borders. So there could be possibility there very actively, and the China factor comes into play at multiple levels. The Chinese will also be watching our own military capabilities, how we have amped up, how prepared are we, what is there. And
frankly, I don't give it too far to even their deep state connections as well. I may love to bait China, but the pragmatic long-term strategic considerations will always point fingers somewhere. People who consider ourselves to be friends or showcase our to be friends, but maybe the leadership is. But after all, the leadership doesn't control everything. Like there's a deep state in Pakistan, there's a greater deep state somewhere else.
Yeah, fair point. Sushant Sareen, your thoughts? Zorawar Daulat Singh also with us. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on the broadcast. Just getting us two more updates. Ambala is on a blackout. There are drones spotted there. Ganderbal in Jammu and Kashmir near Srinagar has also sighted drones above, and the ADSs are at work trying to neutralize them. Yes, Sushant Sareen, the China factor. Who's actually behind this? As General Pandey is taking the discussion and the conversation forward, Bharat needs to identify who's behind this, who's orchestrating this. One, within the Pakistani military, its deep state, and also beyond the Pakistani shores. Yes. Sushant Sareen, yeah.
Anand, I think it is entirely possible that this is happening from within the Pakistani state establishment. Either there is a kind of a rethink at the institutional level, that look, we haven't gotten anything from the Indian side, and we've had to sue for peace. Let's try our hand at this again. It could just as well. The fact is that if DGMO talks to the Indian DGMO and looks for a ceasefire, and we agree to it, then that ceasefire has to be observed. Then there is no question of thinking, okay, fine, we agree to a ceasefire today, but we'll start observing it on the 12th.
Correct.
They decided upon a time, on a particular date, and that is the time from which the ceasefire should start.
Right.
And if one side is starting to violate the ceasefire, then there is no reason for the other side to observe the ceasefire.
Right.
So quite clearly, this ceasefire is breaking down as we speak. And this is not limited to only line of control. This is all across,
right.
As yourself reporting. And if that indeed is the case, then I think we have to come to the conclusion that whatever agreement was discussed today is not worth anything.
Right.
And that the Pakistanis have tried to take everybody for a ride and are probably trying, to throw the dice once more to see what they can get out of it.
Right.
And that is what it seems, which means that we are then back on the escalation spiral, which is fair enough. I don't have a problem with that. And let's see how that plays out. If that's the kind of thing the Pakistanis want after the hiding they got last night, they want to play this game all over again, then fine. I don't think there's anybody on the Indian side who's going to flinch from that.
Right.
On whether the Chinese are prompting them to do it, look, I think again, even the statement which we saw from the Chinese today
Right.
was pretty middle of the road, right? They were not taking any side one way or another. Now, one can say that this is deception from the Chinese side, or one could say, well, the Chinese realize that, this is not worth,
Right.
going ahead with. So
Jay.
it's better that both sides call it off and we'll appeal to both sides. It
Right.
could just as well be that. The question is, whatever, the Americans tried to play, whatever role they tried to play, how they are going to react to this.
Right.
Are they now going to go ahead and say that, look, let's use whatever leverages we have and start turning the screws on the Pakistanis? Or will they say, okay, fine, as President Trump said earlier, the guys keep fighting with each other, so let them, have yet another bash up. We don't
Right.
know, but if the Americans are genuinely serious in saying that it's important that both sides step back as this as
See-
what they claim to be, then they need to start pressuring the side which is breaking the ceasefire to expect
Correct.
that India will exercise restraint because there can be a nuclear exchange, third world war, and what have you. Again, you are penalizing the victim.
See, is this also not
How does
Sushantji?
that work?
No, Sushantji, and to all our guests, Anvit is joining us live from Pokhran. We'll go to that, but we'll come back and pick this up. Is this the whole thing that the Pakistani army or the military establishment has gone rogue? And that the civilian establishment has no control, no clue. Shehbaz Sharif tweets, and within minutes, the ceasefire violations have begun and the drone incursions have begun. So is the military trying to tell the world that, sorry, we don't listen to this civilian establishment and whoever and whatever they have done. So what's the point of Rubio speaking to Asim Munir? But it's the DGMO who picked up the phone and said ceasefire. It's a DGMO who picked up the phone and said, let's hold and requested for stoppage of fire. It was not Shehbaz Sharif. So it's also quite surprising how the military picks up the phone and says, we need stoppage of fire. The Prime Minister comes out and says, thank you very much, America, you've done this for me. And immediately the army decides to say, no, we're going to send the drones and start firing our artillery again. How is this happening is a big question. Zoravarji, I'll come to you with this. Quickly going across to Anvit, who's joining us live from Pokhran. Harsh Sanghvi, the Home Minister of Gujarat, has said Kutch is in blackout. There is also drones sighted in Kutch. So the air guns have worked there also, air defense systems. Yes, Anvit, what's happening in Pokhran?
Yes, Anand. See, a complete blackout has been imposed just half an hour ago. Earlier, it was scheduled for 11 p.m. Life had returned to normalcy just after the announcement of a ceasefire. Some shops were also open since they had been under complete lockdown since past one day. People had also returned to street, but now just see out of this, place, complete blackout here. Also, because 8 drone sightings have been reported, so blackout has been imposed
8 drones
at
in
9:30
Pokhran.
p.m.
Okay.
Earlier today, also three missile parts were also recovered from 3 areas here in Pokhran and in nearby Sadar and in Jamla village also. However, no damage to lives were reported, but Jamla one, what we were being told that it was a missile and it had been intercepted in the air. A blast took place. We also met the eyewitness who said that yes, he saw it exploding in the air, and he also said that some fighter jets were also spotted earlier today in the morning around 4 a.m. So keeping that in mind and keeping the recent drone sightings, a blackout has been initiated before the expected time, and the vehicular movement is completely shut. Street lights have been shut. All the shops are under complete lockdown, and as we see, the skies of Pokhran may look right now as the situation is normal, but just a short while ago 8 drones have been spotted. However, no loss of life or any mishap, however, so have been reported so far from this place.
Right. So what time did you say that the drones were sighted, the 8 drones?
Just about half an hour ago, we have been told that 8 drones were spotted. However, they have not been engaged. They did not, and no mishap has been reported. No loss of any architecture has been reported. But yes, previously also in Jaisalmer's Kishan Ghat, one drone cell had fallen from one of the drones. It had to be, military had to be called in. It had to be diffused. It had to be a controlled detonation was done, and that detonation itself was so huge. So keeping in mind that drones, even if they do not attack, some mishap may take place, and even if they are intercepted, their parts may fall, which also then need to be, the entire area needs to be cordoned and precautionary measures need to be put in place. So keeping that in mind, complete blackout has been initiated. Also, because the drone sightings were there, police are on alert. Military certainly is keeping an eye across the border as well, but local police is also patrolling. Announcements are also being made, so asking people not to step out and just keep inside your houses.
Right. Thank you for that update, Anvit. Stay safe. Great work done, and kudos to our team of reporters on ground who've been there in the face of danger, right in the thick of all the action, and getting us all the details. One aspect we've tried to focus is that we verify, recheck, verify, and then put out only the authentic news here on the News 18 network, across the network. That's what we are priding ourselves on in this coverage of Operation Sindoor. But Zorawarji, let's get back to this issue. Is the civilian government in variance with the army? Are elements in the army who have gone rogue? That's why we see this, because the conversation was had between the DGMOs. So if the military did not have a buy-in towards the stoppage of fire, the call would not have come from the Pak DGMO. So how would you read this situation, and how should Bharat now calibrate its response?
So I would step back and just see the lead up to this particular lull, because if you notice over the past 3 days, there's been a gradual notching up and moving up the escalation ladder.
Yeah.
India initially sort of was calibrating its actions in a very, very calibrated defensive way, calling it non-escalatory. Pakistan was the one that was itching for a fight. It was raising the ante, hoping that kind of would unsettle the Indians to sort of find some way out. But actually what it precipitated was the Indian side actually responded to that. And I think there was an Indian move to move up the escalation ladder, not just reciprocal strikes. And I think that's where last night, I think the Americans, who were quite happy for a few days ago to just watch this slugging match play out, hoping that it would stay at the low end, I think they noticed that this could be a very different kind of a military operation that could unfold. And they intervened, as they've always done, to protect their long-standing non-NATO ally. They don't want this to sort of get out of hand. There are various reasons, of course. They want stability, peace, but I think they have taken the oxygen out of what could have been a different phase of this crisis, and they have. So now we've got left with where the Pakistanis have exploited the Americans, taken that pressure off where the Indians possibly could have moved towards. And now they also, of course, by all these actions, this tactical low-level actions, they're denying India any kind of political victory from the resolution of the standoff.
Right.
So there are, let's look at it this way. The Pakistan army, under no circumstances, views this entire episode in any way the way the Indians do. For us, this was a counter-terror operation. It's India trying to formulate a legitimate doctrine of self-defense. They violate your sovereignty through massive terror attacks. They are not going to go costless. That's the Indian response. For the Pakistanis, they want this advantage of coercion and low-level proxy conflict to continue. So there is a complete clash of security concepts. And if we think we're just going to get Donald Trump, who has frankly no interest in a long-lasting engagement and facilitating.
Just got an update, Zorawji. We'd like to take this conversation forward with all our guests on this. The government sources are telling us, and Siddhant is getting us this update, that Pak has violated a bilateral understanding. So this is what? Pak has violated a bilateral understanding. That is the government source telling CNN News 18 at this point. So clearly, the establishment is not happy. The government is not happy with the way Pakistan is behaving. So a bilateral understanding reached upon between two nations has been violated is the position. Now what does this mean? Zorawarji, and then I'll bring in RKS Bhatturiaji. Yes, please complete.
Yeah, so they also don't want this entire peace and stability to extend to Kashmir. They still want to continue their policy of undermining stability, undermining that particular area. So their long-standing approach is not going to disappear overnight. They are hoping to get something out of this when it reaches the next stage of. You have Marco Rubio making a statement that there are going to be possible dialogue and negotiations in a neutral country. Frankly, there's nobody from the Indian side who has made any kind of a statement on that. They are looking at this as purely in terms of a ceasefire and a closure of termination of this crisis. While for the Pakistani, this is a stepping stone to open up a bigger conversation. So there's a complete mismatch of where both sides are operating. So for India, I think it's just got to maintain a certain posture of readiness and evaluate its options.
No, and the other thing is Bharat is very clear, this is bilateral, and it's a bilateral understanding has been violated. Siddhant joining us. Yes, Siddhant, what are government sources saying?
Well, yes, that's right, Anand. In fact, I've spoken to top sources in government of India, and what they have told me, Anand, is something very, very interesting. In fact, they have put things very straight. They are calling it a violation of the understanding which has been reached between the two sides this afternoon. So clearly, Government of India is looking at this particular development after the announcement of understanding as the violation.
Right.
And in fact, there have been an air intrusion. Perhaps, Anand, there are multiple, air intrusion. And in fact, our colleagues are reporting from ground. And now,
no, there is a possibility something more could have happened. There is some action that's happened in Nagrota. We're waiting for some confirmation, and we'll try and get you the details. But there is also drone sighting in Reasi. So there is also drones that have been seen flying over Reasi. There has been complete blackout there also. There is some check. Some problem, some issues that have come to pass on ground in Nagrota. Something's happened there. We'll try and get you more details. But Air Chief, your thoughts on this? Bharat's position is this is a violation of a bilateral understanding.
See, my
tonight is the night when the Pakis are the most vulnerable.
My reading is if an official statement has come already that Pakistan has violated the ceasefire, then there would be repercussions to the violation. And you keep your channels going and wait for the result in the morning.
But in this case, what then happens to what is supposed to be on the 12th? Or does Bharat's position only harden a little more?
Yeah, Bharat's position will already get hardened. They have violated the ceasefire. So it's for the Americans to realize the doublespeak that Pakistan does. Clearly, again, I think you made a mention of this, that Asif Munir probably is not either fully with it, or there is a bit of, there is a lot of communication difference between what he feels and what the Pakistani political leadership feels, which is coming out.
Sorry, sir, I'm just going to try and see if we can get Tejinder Sodhi on the phone to tell us what's actually happened in Nagrota. As of now, Akash is telling us that the shelling along the line of control has stopped for the moment. So the guns have gone silent for now. That's the latest coming through. And that there have been no ground blasts in Srinagar. Everything's been negated in the skies. That's the other update. Yes, sir. Please complete.
Yeah. So clearly it's a violation. Official statement has come, so there would be some response. And I think we'll see how it pans out tomorrow. Of course, the US administration will come down heavily in their communication with Pakistan as to regarding the violation, because it's very clear. If there are explosions on our bases, etc., the armed drones coming which have been intercepted, it is not a simple violation. It is not some LOC firing which can be contested.
So the Jammu and Kashmir, both LOC along Jammu and Kashmir and also along the IB, we are given to understand shelling is stopped. Ishan is also confirming कि अभी shelling बंद हो गया है. Tejinder Sodhi is joining us with some more development that's happened. What's happened in Nagrota? Can we put that out? Is there a confirmation of what's happened there?
Yes, Anand, there has been a confirmation that some suspected movement was reported near one of the gates of the 16th Corps of the Indian Army. After that, the sentry deployed at the gate has fired several shots toward that movement, though the entire area has been cordoned off right now to ascertain who those suspected people were. So the entire area has been cordoned. Movement along the the Nagrota belt has been stopped. People have been asked to stay vigilant and to ensure that the suspects, if they are terrorists, they have to be identified and taken down. But yes, the situation continues to be fluid right now. The entire military base there is on heightened alert, and we are told that the sentry fired at the suspected movement of some suspected person, whether they were terrorists. They were seen outside one of the important gates of this important vital army installation. So, as you know, Anand, we have been discussing it since morning that the entire army or vital Indian army installations across Jammu and Kashmir have been put on heightened alert. Any suspicious movement or any trespassing would be dealt with seriously. And there are also inputs that Pakistan-based terrorists, they have asked their cadre in Jammu and Kashmir to carry out terror strikes on vital army installations so as to divert the attention of the Indian armed forces, which are right now engaged in
Right,
conflict with Pakistan.
But the thing is, Tejinder, you are saying that that was a gate of the 16 Corps, there was suspected movement, the sentry fired multiple rounds, and after that there is no, what happened thereafter, it's not yet confirmed. Nagrota, currently there remains a blackout at this point, but there is a big watch. There was earlier in the day here at CNN News 18, and even yesterday we had said that there is this multiple ceasefire violations because Pakistan is trying to push through some jihadis into this place to give some anjam to some wardat here, and the idea is with instructions to target critical military installations or brigade headquarters or areas and try and inflict some damage there. That's the point. That was that instruction had been sent about 24 hours ago to this cadre, and if there are some who are loitering and even ground cadre sleeper cells being activated, if there is something like that that happens, then what happens? It's all gloves off. The 1700 hours agreement of earlier in the day that there will be no military action, will that go off? Bharat's clear warning, any act of terror is equal to an act of war. Does that then start future act of terror? Future can be 5 minutes from now and it can be 5 months from now, but does that, what does that mean? The other thing is, does this also mean this is egg on Donald Trump's face? And does that mean that General Munir does not care for what Donald Trump is coming out and claiming, and he's gone off on his own tangent? So that's another part. Mike Waltz has just tweeted, he's saying tremendous progress towards stability in a historically volatile region. It won't be easy, there will be violations and much work to be done, but another step in President Trump's commitment to peace. So Mike Waltz is trying to further try and amp up Trump wants peace, etc., etc. But Bharat is very clear, this is bilateral. This is between Bharat and Pakistan. Pakistan has to play heel, and it has to toe the line. If it doesn't, then it's gloves off. It's an act of war. So that's where we are at this point. There's blackout in Bhatinda as well. Air Chief, your thoughts, how things are moving out? Is Pakistan still climbing on the escalation ladder? Is this something which is going to be par for course? Are you willing to agree with General Pandey saying that we got to decide our line? Major General SVP Singh is also with us, the former ADG Artillery and 1971 war veteran. Major Manik Jolly also joins us. But first to you, Air Chief. Yeah.
I think very clearly Pakistan in this transition into after ceasefire is trying to steal some damage, some face saving, and quickly expect that there will be further. Okay, we are stopping, etc., and there is no response from our side. But government having already stated, I think the response would have already started or would be in progress or would happen, and it should be a robust response. What happens tomorrow, whatever statements now coming from US side, I think they need to see and deal with Pakistan more firmly. And of course the deep state, I think there was a comment regarding that they are the ones responsible for giving Pakistan military the core strength because of which they are able to support terrorism to the extent. So in the background, there is involvement historically to support this. Today's administration is well against them and is very good. There is no doubt. But I am talking of historical. So we need to. There was another issue of whether Asif Munir is responsible. Yeah. Of course, he is the one responsible. He and ISI. And therefore, there has to be repercussions for Pakistan in this entire action hereafter. So ceasefire has to be absolutely clear, no firing, thereafter only we stop. And as things go forward, I think within Pakistan they need to realize if Asif Munir continues and the current dispensation continues, somewhere down the line things will happen again. It is their doing, and I don't think there is China angle at present in Pahalgam stroke this. It is
As of
purely
now,
Pakistan.
you don't see the
I
China
don't
angle.
see. I see purely Pakistan. I see directly Asif Munir and ISI handiwork in order to make this happen.
Make this happen. Did you know that the DG ISPR, his father was a terrorist, a proscribed terrorist, and also Osama bin Laden's aide, the American?
I read about it.
So this is how deeply the jihadi Pak military network and nexus is, and how is this lost on the world, or how has the world been okay with this? Major General SVP Singh, Jain sir, thank you for your time.
And if I may interrupt, you saw that photograph, and in the funeral, how many army officers were there and senior officers?
वो सामने तो हाफिज अब्दुल रऊफ खड़ा था, वो तो he's a US proscribed terrorist, लश्कर का
Chief
operator
of
है.
Army Staff's Reith is there.
Yeah, and
Official
they were all
Reith.
jihadis because Rauf Asghar was one of them in the coffins.
One of them, and look at the lineup of the army officers there. So it shows the kind of nexus that they are into. This is what needs to be broken, and that's why our statement today that act of terror would be act of war is very significant. In time to come, that is what will be acted upon.
General Singh, sir, thank you for your
sorry
time.
for
Your
interruption.
thoughts, sir.
Thank you very much. Jai Hind to the viewers.
Jai Hind, sir.
Well, I would start by saying what has happened post announcement of the ceasefire. Well, it is the DNA of the state of Pakistan which is showing up once again its face. Should I say the ugly face? It cannot be possible that the communication system has not filtered right down to the battlefront, down to the lowermost tactical units and subunits that ceasefire has been announced. 3:30 p.m. the DGMO of Pakistan has spoken, perhaps in the beggingly for the ceasefire. Now this is one face of Pakistan. It has got multi faces in any case. Second is Pakistan should have been very grateful. Yesterday bailed out by IMF, and today bailed out by the Indian state, by the Indian Prime Minister. They were below their knee level. They should have been grateful. And what are they doing? Now, having said that much, let us see how Pakistan can sustain itself without this war which would have taken place. It has not looked inwards, but was moving external lines towards our international border and trying to show face to India in this last 96 hours. But look, when they're trying to show face to us, on its back were two daggers punctured right into their spine, the Baluchistan and the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And yet, the leadership, the madness within it, was trying to show the two-headed face. Now, Pakistan's other problem besides this is the water sharing, not the Indus Water Treaty, the holding it in abeyance. It is the water sharing between Punjab and Sindh, which is boiling down. There's 6-canal system which Munir had only acted as an architect, stands cancelled. People have been suffering for water right in Sindh and Karachi. Water tankers move around in Karachi well before the suspension or the holding against the Indus Water Treaty.
Right.
So that is their state. Then I think post 1971, post 1999, it was set by the Indian state, by all the right thinkers, get your act together. The people of Pakistan, get your act together. The political leaders, get your act together. Control your army. Control these army generals. But they have not been able to do that. And this Mullah general, pardon me to say that, he has taken Pakistan down the barrel. Down the barrel. That 16th April speech of his is going to haunt him and haunt him to his last breath. He must be praying to Allah for forgiveness, because that has brought what has brought about Pahalgam, and that is what has brought about this. And he was looking for extension. I think time is up for him. And the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shahbaz, he should now stand up, invite the opposition, look inwards about the opposition leader Imran Khan as well. Try to reconcile at this time. Pakistan is in a state which should seek reconciliation within it. And
Sir,
that will help
that
the
is not
people of
going to
Pakistan.
happen. If somebody decides to incarcerate the most popular leader in the country and then they are worried कि भाई ये war के चक्कर में वहाँ अडियाला में drone गिरा के मार देंगे उसको, that is the level to which they can stoop down the politicians. The army generals have got no nothing to color themselves in glory about. The fact is that from his days as a major, I'm given to understand from a former Pakistan army guy that General Munir was actually called the deceiver. He's nicknamed the deceiver क्योंकि वो सबको धोखा देते थे. अभी पाकिस्तानी अवाम को भी धोखा दे रहे हैं, दुनिया को भी धोखा दे रहे हैं. दूसरी बात सर, everybody calls him Mullah Munir because of his vitriol and the fact that he's the son of a Maulana. But within the Pak army circles, this is again come from one of the highest places, sources there. He is nicknamed Chachu Whiskey because उनको रात को उनका चाहिए पटियाला सर, उसके अलावा उन्हें नहीं हजम होती. तो that is the reality about him, that he loves his tipple, he loves his whiskey, so he's called Chachu Whiskey. So he's Mullah Whiskey in that way. So he tries to portray a particular front to the world and he's a different person at the back end. But far gone, far radicalized, and perhaps many believe that he's the one behind all of this that is happening. Major Manik Jolly is also with us. Now, exactly what we spoke about.
I can't see anything.
But I hope you can hear. We'll try and show you. We'll try and get you visuals also. But the fact is, right now, it's like what a lot of people in Srinagar were hearing. It is noise, a lot of noise from the Pakistanis, and what we've been hearing by the Pakistani civilian establishment across international media. A lot of noise, a lot of bluster, but no content. But in this case, Major Manik Jolly, just about 4 hours ago, we were having a conversation कि इन पाकिस्तानियों का भरोसा नहीं किया जा सकता, and that is exactly within 2 hours of that conversation they proved us right. So what does Bharat do from here on?
Yeah, so actually the moment this press conference came up and it was told that we are going for ceasefire / stoppage of firing and all, immediately I was with Anand. I said there is no point doing this. You cannot trust these people because they have a very unique situation where they will say, okay, Shahbaz is doing the peace treaty, but somehow Munir attacked. Okay, Munir is doing the peace treaty, but some militants got together and they attacked. They are so broken down and disoriented. I wouldn't call it disoriented, but disjointed actually, that they keep doing these things and keep blaming on each other. That's how they operate. Secondly, what India has to do is now there is no chance of backing down. Because the thing is, we gave them a past few entire week actually, we gave them a lot of chances to off-ramp. That's a term being used now. We gave them a lot of opportunity to de-escalate. We gave them chances to come to peace. Because right from start, our point has been we took out terror camps and there's nothing more than that we want. But they have been escalating it day after day with these terror attacks, with drone attacks. Today there's been a terrorist attack on Nagrota camp. That's what I'm hearing. Right? The point is that now India has to go for the decisive action. And decisive action does not mean that we go for an all-out war, but at least catch hold of some area, zone, core, wherever we want to. Yeah, and just go for it. I mean, because the thing is, till the time they feel the heat that we can give them, they will not stop.
So there are some, there are a few peaks and there are a few bowls. जिसका जो हमेशा हमारे हम हमेशा we take it and then we give it back to them. This time we should just take it and sit there.
Yeah, so we are dominating it, majorly dominating at many areas. I think we should just go ahead with it. That's my personal opinion, and start showing them that we can do it.
Just a confirmation that's come in. I'm just interrupting you, Major Jolly, that there are no blasts since there have been no ground blasts in Srinagar. It was all the air defense system on top. The other part is LC and the borders are now shant. The artillery firing has stopped. It happened some time back. The other thing is the drones did come in, but the drones have all been shot down. All drones have been now shot down. There's nothing happened across the western border. That's what the army is saying. So at this point, there is no problem. The blackouts in a lot of places has been on a precautionary level. Now there are some reports about or something about Vaishno Devi par hamla and all of that. Nothing like that has happened. The Vaishno Devi Bhavan, there was blackout. Drones were seen in that area, but they've all been neutralized in the skies. There's nothing that's happened. So, but this electricity now has also been restored in Baramulla. So things coming back into normal, and some time back Manoj Gupta had said that this is what the Pakistanis will do. 1-2 घंटा ये ड्रोन भेजते रहेंगे, हम उनको उड़ाते रहेंगे, हम भी वहाँ कुछ करते रहेंगे, ये 12 तारीख तक चलता रहेगा. But is that okay? Is that par for course? Should we say that this is all right? or should we now make the cost far more punitive? Tilak Devasharji is also with us. Tilakji, your thoughts?